Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to simulate the crash of Air India 171. So the reports, the preliminary reports just came out, and it's very concerning to say the least. First of all is because the reason they're pointing out is that the fuel control switches, which are down here, has been set to cut off just a few seconds after takeoff, and its highest speed it's ever reached is only 180 knots, which is fairly slow And the weight of this plane, the max takeoff weight of the plane is 418 tons. Alright, let's simulate this. Engine 1 is off, engine 2 is also off. So we are just going to try to glide here. Just to glide as much as we could. And as you can see, we are now stalling. Sync rate. And we have crashed. Now, okay. Now, as you can see in the flight planner, we are not far away from the airport. So maybe I'm just going to read some reports. You probably can't see the reports. In the Aviation Herald here. The thrust lever quadrant sustained a significant thermal damage. Both thrust levers were found near the aft idle position. However, the EAFR data revealed that the thrust levers remained forward takeoff thrust until the impact. Both fuel control switches were found in the run position. The reverser levers were bent, but they were still in the stowed position. The wiring from the toga switches and auto throttle disconnect switches were visible but heavily damaged. Flaps were firmly located at 5 degrees takeoff position. The AP winglet door was found open. The RAT ram air turbine was deployed in the initial takeoff immediately after takeoff. The aircraft started to lose altitude before crossing the airport perimeter wall. The AIB wrote, as per the EAFR data, the aircraft crossed takeoff decision V1 and achieved 153 knots IAS at 8:08:33 seconds UTC time. The V-rotate speed, 155 knots, was achieved as per the EAFR at 8:08:35 seconds UTC. The aircraft air-ground sensors transmitted to air mode consisted with liftoff at 8:08:39 seconds UTC time. The aircraft achieved maximum recorded airspeed of only just 180 knots at about 8:08:42 seconds UTC, and immediately thereafter the engine 1 and engine 2 fuel cutoff switches transitioned from run to takeoff position, one after another, with a time gap of 1 second. The engine N1 and N2 began to decrease from their takeoff values as the fuel supply to the engines were cut off. In the cockpit voice recording, one of the pilots is heard asking the other why he cut off. The other pilot responded that he did not do so, but we do not know who said what. So maybe we should just restart this, and maybe we could get some stuff from that. So here are we back in the flight sim. We are going to turn off that for better performance. And let's simulate this. Toga thrust, flaps at 5. let's ignore that. I know my... Alright, going to now release pump brakes. And now we are rolling. So we are just going to push this down because we don't have the exact weight. But I don't know. With a 1 second gap, which means it turned off engine one. I think this might be the... It can't be the... I think the person closing the engine valves or the pilot was the captain. Alright, let's rotate now. Alright, let's close engine number 1 and then engine number 2. I think that... Alright. And then they turned on the APU. So let's first pause this and switch APU to start position. And the APU inlet door will be open. So as you can see, we are still gliding. The airspeed right now, okay, we are stalling. And we are crashing. Yeah. Now, let me see here. The approximate final position in the Aviation Herald seems to be pretty close of our of this plane's position currently. So let's just see. Yes, this is basically the exact same position. Let me just... Do we have settings? I think it's this settings. Yes. Maps. Satellite imagery. So yeah, this was the exact crash position, but the actual crash position is around here. It's still pretty close, which means the report is trustable. And the plane was also facing this way. It was like this, which is kind of weird, to be honest. Why did it turn left? Is the flight plan like just telling them to turn left immediately after takeoff? I don't think so. So it's probably that after they turned off the engines, they started to glide left. And but if they actually started to glide left, they'd be heading for the very dense residential area. And, well, 30 people on the ground were also killed, so that's probably what happened, is that they went for the residential area for some reason. Alright, so we are now in. Let me fix you. You should be good. So let's just take off again and probably head for the residential area. Oh gosh, the parking brakes, bro. So I guess we're just going to head for the residential area. I will be looking at my screen because if I look towards the camera, I don't know what would happen. Now, alright, rotate, and then engine 1 off, engine 2 off. And as you can see, our airspeed is right now 170. Okay, we are dropping severely quickly. So we are just going to head left. And right over here we start stalling. And we will crash into this building. Now let's see our final position here. It's a bit, I think we stalled a bit too early. The final position was around here. Not too sure about why that was like that. But either way, let's continue on with the reports. At about 8:09:05 UTC, the pilots transmitted Mayday, 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 saying that they had no thrust. The EGT was, well, the engine temperature was observed to be rising for those engines, indicating relight. Engine 1's core deceleration stopped, reversed, and started to progress to recovery. Engine 2 was able to relight but couldn't arrest core speed deceleration and reintroduced fuel repeatedly to increase core speed acceleration and recovery. The EAFR recording stopped at 8:09:11 UTC. The ATCO inquired about the call sign. The ATCO did not get any response but observed the aircraft crashing outside the airport boundary and activated the emergency response. At 8:08:14:44, crash fire tender left the airport premises for rescue and firefighting. They were joined by the fire and rescue services of local administration. On July 12th of 2025, India's media report said that the investigation is not focusing on human action causing the fuel switches to appear in cutoff position, but on a system failure. The Service Information Bulletin by the FAA issued in a year 2018 recommend to upgrade fuel switches on 737s and is inspecting the fuel switch locking feature on other aircrafts, including the Boeing 787, to prevent inadvertent flap of the switches. As well as the FAA or GE issued Service Bulletin FAA 2021-0273-0013 Attachment 2 relating to the loss of control issue, also see above. Were not implemented by Air India. The stated MN4 computer with faulty soldering that might have weakened and lose contact due to the thermal stress after a number of cycles. Interprets data and commands from command fuel metering valves. With the lost contact attaching the MN4 processor to the EEC intermittent electrical contact, loss of signal processing, and engine control faults can occur. The SB writes under the conditions for the SB. The LOTC loss of thrust control with the numbers of cycles of the Victor Tango Alpha November Bravo has already completed. The soldier balls were weakened sufficiently to detach the MN4 from the EEC momentarily due to the loads during the takeoff rotation, leading to the loss of control and thrust and shutdown of the engines. Local police listed 25 people who were injured on the ground and taken to hospitals. At 14 time, Zulu police updated that there has been 204 bodies been recovered and there have been 41 injured. It appears that there has been no survivor on board the aircraft. In the late evening India time, local police confirmed a survivor on board of the aircraft who had been seated in seat 1111A. So that survivor is very lucky. Some people say that that survivor jumped off the aircraft, but that is impossible because there are people, there are flight attendants near the door that will prevent you from opening it. Second of all, opening it is a legal thing. Third of all, why would you open it? Alright, thanks for watching this video, and yeah, see you in the next video. Bye.